So that does it for my 3-month review of the OnePlus 7T. If you have any questions or comments... What's going on? Who are you? It's 2020 and I'm you. I brought you here right after your 3-month 7T review so we could talk about it before I do my 1-year 7T review. Well, I guess that makes sense. But why not just watch the review yourself in 2020? Ah, crap. Hello and welcome to Rando Tech Info and my 1-year review of the OnePlus 7T, one of the most well-reviewed flagships of 2019, or flagship killer, however you want to see it. So a while back I did a 3-month review of this phone where I compared my grades of this phone to other reviewers' grades of this phone at that time. So today I'm basically going back and regrading the phone based on my 1 year of use, and I'm basing the grades on what's available today. One advantage to being a smaller YouTuber as opposed to one of the big hitters is that I don't have to keep swapping my phone every few weeks. I say have to. Get to is probably more of a better way to describe it, but I don't switch my phone very often, so I've been using this phone non-stop for the past year. This has been my daily use phone every day since I got it. So I feel like I know the phone pretty well, and I feel like my grades for the different categories of this phone are all pretty legitimate. So real quick, before we get started with the grading, no 5G on this phone. So 5G is a deal breaker for you. This is probably not the phone you want to get. I have my own pretty strong feelings about 5G. I don't think you have to have it on a phone right now. So, but if you think you do, then you can probably stop watching this video now because it's not there. Also, you can't get this phone new unlocked from OnePlus anymore. If you go to OnePlus's website as of October of 2020, it will send you to T-Mobile to get the phone where it is still available. You can still get it off of Amazon. I believe it's going for $429.99 as of today. So Amazon is still a place to get it new. And of course, you can still try to pick it up used from places like Swappa and Gazelle. So the first thing I want to talk about is the design and form factor of this phone. But basically, back when I covered this phone before, people really liked the form factor. I really liked the form factor of this device. It had a big, beautiful 1080p screen that was flat, which was really nice. Had a really small notch, had good speakers, had the volume slider on the side that everybody just loves, very similar to the iPhone slider for muting your phone and whatnot. No headphone jack, so not perfect, but for the most part, people really like the form factor of this phone. And as far as like the screen goes, it's very, very similar to the 8T. In fact, spec-wise, it's identical except for the fact that the 8T has a hole punch where this phone has a notch. So really, if you compare it to OnePlus's latest offering, there's no difference. You're not really getting any kind of an upgrade by moving to the 8T. And when you compare it to other phones of this generation, it still holds up really well. I gave it a B- back then for the 3-month rating. I'm going to drop it a little bit just because screens have incrementally improved on a lot of other phones, but it still holds up really well. So I'm going to go ahead and give it right now in 2020, the form factor of this phone, a B. So next, I want to talk about the performance on this phone. And let me tell you, the performance on this phone is still great. It has the Snapdragon 855 Plus processor, which was the overclocked version of the flagship processor from last year. When this phone came out at that time, there was really nothing better than it on the spec sheet. It was fantastic. Its 8 gigs of RAM was plenty. Its 128 gigabytes of storage was plenty. It has that 90 hertz refresh rate that a lot of people really love. And I actually think 90 hertz in some ways is better than a 120 hertz refresh rate because not a lot of stuff can take advantage of the 120 hertz anyway. Heck, a lot of stuff can't even take advantage of the 90 hertz refresh rate. So the 90 hertz is a little bit easier on your battery than the 120. I play games on this thing all the time. Call of Duty, PUBG, it's never dropped a frame. It's still absolutely fantastic. I do have to drop the grade a smidge just because there are better and technically faster phones out there, but in day-to-day use, you're not going to notice a difference between the new 865 processor and this processor. This one absolutely still does the job wonderfully. Back in my 3-month review, I gave the performance of this phone an A. Right now, I'm going to give it an A-. It still holds up really well. So now let's talk about the cameras. You're probably wondering to yourself, where is the 7T? You haven't seen it yet in this video. Well, that's because it's recording this video. I'm using it to record right now. I've used it to record virtually all of my videos for the past year on this channel. So if you want to know how good this camera is, you really don't have to go any farther than that. Just go back and look at my old videos and you can see just how good the video is. Now, for the sake of full disclosure, I usually use the Filmic Pro app to record my videos, not because the standard video on this camera is bad, but it can't use an external microphone. So using the Filmic app, I can use an external mic. While I'm recording this segment right now about the camera, I actually stopped using the Filmic Pro and I'm using just the base OnePlus 7T camera app right now. That's why I probably sound a little bit different, because I'm not using an external mic. But as you can probably tell, the mic built into the video camera is not horrible. And I think the more I've used this phone, the more I've come to appreciate the video. Just this last weekend, I went to a marching band competition for my son. And you can see just how good this thing does when it's outside, how good it does with the zoom. I'm always really impressed with the video that this thing takes. And the pictures aren't bad either. Yeah, there's some stuff out there that offer a little bit better contrast, have a little bit better color reproduction, but for the most part, the photos on this camera get it done. And if you want to compare the camera system on this phone compared to the 8T, this one's actually better because this has a true 3-camera setup. It's got a primary wide camera, an ultra wide camera, and a telephoto camera. Where the 8T does not have a telephoto camera, it swapped it out for a couple of throwaway sensors. One is a macro and I think one is a black and white sensor to help you take better black and white shots. Not sure why they did that. I'm sure it was a cost-cutting measure, but still, the camera system on the 7T is actually better than that of the 8T. I still probably have to drop the grade right now for this camera system based on what I said 9 months ago. Back then I gave it a B+. Camera systems do continue to get better on other phones. So, you know, to compare a phone, a flagship phone from last year to this year, yeah, it's not going to hold up quite as well against a lot of the competition from like Apple and Samsung, but it's still close. And I think for most people, this camera is going to be just fine for you. My only real beef with this camera now, and it's the same one I had back when I did the last review, is that there is a little bit of shutter lag on photographs. So I did download the Gcam and I use that when I have to take action shots. But for the most part, the camera's still good. And that's why, you know, back in the day I gave it a B+. Today I'm going to give it a B. So next I'm going to talk about the battery and battery life on this device. It was the thing I was the least impressed with when I reviewed this phone before, and that has not changed. And obviously battery life has not gotten better over time. Back then I said the battery was pretty good unless you were gaming. If you were gaming, it drained the battery really quick, and it still does. When I game on this device, the battery goes down very fast. I got a battery case to put on this thing for when I'm gaming. I recommend, if you do get this device, you might want to do the same. So the good news is though, it does have 30-watt fast charging, which is good. It does juice up pretty quick. There are some phones that juice up quicker now, like the 8T, which has 65-watt fast charging, but still, 30 watts is still pretty good. It's still one of the better phones out there, even in 2020 for charging speed. There's no wireless charging on this device, so if that's a deal breaker for you, that's still not here. That's not on the 8T though either, so that's not a reason certainly to upgrade to the 8T, but as I just said, it does have the 65-watt charging, so there is a slight upgrade there. In any case, if you're looking for a super long-lasting battery when gaming, this phone is probably not for you. But if you don't do a ton of gaming or you don't mind charging up a little bit in the middle of the day, you should be okay. Batteries have gotten bigger and phones have gotten a little bit more power efficient over time, so I am going to drop the grade on this thing, and I have to drop it a little bit more for my own personal use because obviously batteries degrade over time. So if I was grading this phone today, my phone today, I would give the grade for the battery on this thing a C. If it's a new phone, I think I would probably give it a C+. Plus. So finally, let's talk about miscellaneous features. Back when I reviewed the phone before, I gave it an A for miscellaneous features. I loved Oxygen 10. I loved the screen recorder. I loved the parallel apps. I loved the game mode. I loved all the things about the phone, the volume slider. I really like OnePlus and the special things they add to their phones. Now, I am going to have to drop the grade a little bit today because some of the features that are included here have been included in other phones since, like the screen recorder, which is now included in stock Android, so that's no longer an exclusive Oxygen feature. There's no IP rating, and more phones are getting IP ratings. I don't think that's a huge deal because OnePlus still does a pretty good job of waterproofing their phones. They just don't like to pay for the certification, but still, it doesn't have it, so I think you have to take a little bit off for that. And then finally, it was running Oxygen 10 when the phone came out back last year. It's still running Oxygen 10 now. It hasn't been upgraded. Now, it's supposed to get an upgrade to Oxygen 11 later this year, hopefully in December, so hopefully that happens then, but as of right now it hasn't been upgraded yet, so I got to dock it a little bit for that. So miscellaneous features on this phone was an A. I'm going to drop it down to a B+. It's still very good. There's still not much here that's lacking, but it has dropped a little bit when you compare it to some of the 2020 flagships. So where does that leave us with this phone, and what is my final grade? So is this phone perfect? No. No wireless charging, no IP rating, and no 5G, which for a lot of people will be an issue here at the later part of 2020. However, if you're looking for a phone with a great screen, strong performance, still almost top of the line performance, a camera that's going to be good enough for the vast majority of people, and get all these things for a great price, then I can wholeheartedly recommend the OnePlus 7T still towards the end of 2020. When I graded this phone earlier this year in my 3-month review, I gave its overall grade an A-. Well, today, obviously I need to lower the grade a little bit because the competition has gotten more fierce. I'm going to drop the grade down to a B, but that's not its grade for value. So while I say its overall grade's a B, I'm going to give it a value grade of an A. You're really not going to find better bang for your buck or a better phone experience for this money than the OnePlus 7T. Well, that's all the useful information I have today about the OnePlus 7T and my 1-year review. What are your thoughts about this phone? Are you thinking about picking one up, and do you think a 2019 flagship is still a viable flagship feeling option in 2020? Let me know down in the comments. As always, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Rando Tech Info signing out. See? Still got it. Was actually using it. Wasn't lying.